Hello, hockey fans, and welcome to part 2 of our look at the 2007-08 Pittsburgh Penguins. On this episode of Anatomy of a Season, the show where we take a look at a given NHL team in a given season. For those of you who haven't watched part 1, the link is both in the description and in the top corner. Watch it before you take a look at this video, as we take a look at the whole Penguins regular season. And indeed, the Pens had a lot of adversity to overcome. Not only was superstar forward Sidney Crosby injured for 29 games, they also were without star goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury for nearly 3 months. However, Evgeni Malkin stepped up and had a storybook season where he finished second in MVP voting and second in league scoring with 106 points. Also, backup goaltender Ty Conklin was outstanding in Fleury's absence, but Fleury returned in March and was absolutely brilliant. Crosby is back and the whole team is healthy, or so we thought. Defenseman Daryl Sador is injured and out for at least 6 weeks. This is not good for the Pens, whose defense has not been without its struggles, despite the tremendous play of Sergei Gonchar all season. And with Sador, one of the main reasons they acquired him was because of his playoff experience, playing in 4 Cup finals and obtaining 2 rings as a result. Be that as it may, the Penguins had finished with 102 points in the regular season, second best in the East, and their first division title since 1998. But the Pens must move forward, and speaking of forwards, the two-headed monster of Gino and the Kid, Crosby and Malkin, are ready. Even without Sador, the Pens have Peter Sikora, who would bring the playoff experience, who himself was acquired for that reason, and with 3 Cup Finals appearances under his belt and a ring to show for it, and he had a really good season, he's ready to go as well. Ryan Malone proved to be a huge asset to the team, and with a player of his style, playoff hockey is something he can thrive at. All the new acquisitions such as All-Star Marian Hossa and Pascal Dupuis could be difference makers as well. You have role players and checkers such as Jordan Stahl, Max Talbot, and Tyler Kennedy. They could be very well suited for this environment. Not to mention you have veteran Gary Roberts to top it off, who had just returned to the lineup, and after over 20 seasons, 119 playoff games, and a Stanley Cup ring already on his finger, he's ready for more. On defense, you have Gonchar, who came in 4th in Norris Trophy voting, the best showing of his career, and was second among all defensemen in scoring. Joining him is Ryan Whitney, who had a good season as well. Brooks Orpik ended the season strong. Rookie Chris Letang progressed and got better, and is ready for the task at hand. All the while, since acquiring veteran Hal Gill from Toronto at the deadline, he has added a lot of strength to the blue line, and he can cap it off with Rob Scuderi, who can come up big when needed. And backstopping it all, the amazing Marc-Andre Fleury. He is a guy through and through, and going forward in the playoffs, he was on a tear to end the season with an amazing 1.45 goals against averaged in the final month of the season, and Ty Conklin, who had a great season, is there if they need him. Craig Patrick in his final days began the process. Current general manager Ray Shero was keeping it going and building a winner. Michel Therrien has done a great job behind the bench. Now, it's playoff time. Awaiting the second season, Penguins is the defending Eastern Conference champion, the Ottawa Senators. The Sens not only made the Pens' playoff dreams a nightmare last season in the opening round in 5 games, but they also won the season series this year, 3-1. The Sens, however, faltered late in the season, despite finishing with 94 points and in the 7th seed. It seemed as though they were going to dominate the Eastern Conference and even contend for the league's best record, but that wasn't the case. Despite that, however, they still have one of the most talented teams in the league. That top line of Danny Heatley, Jason Spezza, and Captain Daniel Alfredsson, and the latter finished in the top 10 in scoring, while Heatley, for the 4th time in his career, reached 40 goals. Also, other talented forwards such as Anton Vermette, a hard-working grinder, and Chris Kelly, as well as Dean McCammond. They are also on this team, but they lose a key member in Mike Fisher, who was injured at the end of the season. However, during the season, they acquired veteran forward Corey Stillman, a consistent 20-goal scorer who brings playoff depth to the team and 2 Stanley Cups, including being a huge member of that 2006 Hurricanes team. On defense, they were led by all-star veteran Wade Redden, joined by young German import Christoph Schubert, Andre Marzaros, and the ever-popular Chris Phillips. In net, they were backstopped by Martin Gerber, who was a star in Carolina. They were now coached by the great Brian Murray, who took over for John Paddock, who was fired during the Senators' slump. But they have momentum and history on their side. But is it enough? Also, the Sens will be without Daniel Alfredsson for the first 2 games. That can't be good. Here we go, though. Game 1. Mellon Arena in Pittsburgh, a sellout crowd of over 17,000. The team's fan support is the highest it's been since the glory days of Lemieux and Jagr. Lemieux does have a seat in the house in the owner's box. The Pens come out firing immediately as their role players produce to begin the game. Just 1:08 in, Talbot and Larac move the puck and get to Gary Roberts. It's a goal. The 42-year-old showing shades of his old self, making the Pens draw first blood. They are firing all they can on Gerber, trying to build their lead, while Fleury is turning everything back, and the Pens defense is also communicating well. But then, it's Malkin to Sikora, big goal, 2-0 Pens, and that's how it would stay after the first period. The second period, it gets a little more intense. Both goalies are playing well. The Pens checkers are frustrating the Senators' stars, as Jordan Staal has practically been in Jason Spezza's shadow. A few teases of some scuffles take place, but nothing comes of it. The Pens hold on to their 2-0 lead after 2 periods. In the third period, both teams are in each other's face. Fleury is turning everything back, but so is Gerber. But the Sens scorers are not responding. With just about 6 minutes to play, Ryan Malone, who has been working tirelessly this game, begins a play, and the puck lands on the stick of Ryan Whitney, who sets up Malkin. He scores. It's 3-0 Penguins, and the Igloo is really rocking. The Sens, in typical fashion, get frustrated and try to win with their fists. Redden and Whitney throw down, while Dupuis and even Crosby also try to tie it up a little bit with Ottawa players, while Dean McCammon gets in on the action as well. But it's the Pens who end up on the power play with just 1:35 to go. Marion to Malkin to Roberts, his second goal of the game. The Pens go on to win 4-0, and Roberts becomes the oldest player in NHL history to have 2 goals in a playoff game. Malkin again is just playing on a whole other level. A goal, 2 helpers, and 3 points. Fleury gets a 26-save shutout, his first playoff shutout, as he stays hot, while the likes of Staal, Talbot, and Dupuis, as well as Gonchar and the defense, gave the Sens forwards a really hard time. Game 2, the Igloo is red hot, ready for the Pens to take further control of the series, and Gerber is standing on his head for the Senators, as the Penguins are not letting up on the goaltender, but early on he is turning everything back. However, the Sens have some good chances on Fleury, but are unable to solve him. It's not until 3:50 left to play in the opening period, the Pens on the power play, which is one of the best in the league, when it's the Sid to the Gino to the Gonchar. It's a goal. It's 1-0 after 1. Gerber would have much better luck with the firing squad at this rate, as another careless penalty, and oh look, it's Sid, and hey, it's Gino, and Sikora. He scores. It's 2-0 Penguins. 5.5 minutes later, this time it's Malone to Gino to Sikora once again. 3-0 lead for Pittsburgh. They are in cruise control. Oh, Malkin is yet again a Terminator out there. However, 33 seconds later, after 71 minutes and 25 seconds without a goal so far in the series, the Sens break Fleury's shutout streak with a Sean Donovan goal. It seems to wake them up as the Sens start putting on some more pressure. And then on a power play of their own, Heatley sets up Stillman to put the Senators within a goal. It's 3-2 after 2 periods. Ottawa has life. The top line still hasn't been producing for Ottawa, but then again, without Alfredson, it's kind of hard to do in a way. So that means others will have to step up. And both goalies facing pressure, with Cody Bass near the midway point of the third period silences the Igloo, and the game is tied. The Pens let a 3-goal lead slip. It's a thrill ride as the clock counts down. Fleury and Gerber making big saves, however, with 1:02 to play. Crosby to Hossa to Malone on the power play. The Pens lead 4-3. And with 7 seconds to go and an empty net, it's the same combination. The Penguins win 5-3 despite a bit of a collapse. They come up in the clutch. The two-headed monster was insane, and a combined 7 assists. Crosby with 4, Malkin with 3, Malone has 3 points, which includes 2 goals. Sikora has 2 goals, and Hossa plays a beauty to boot. The Penguins' top players are producing, and the Pens are still containing the Senators' top players, and indeed they are missing old Alfie very dearly. The Pens are up 2-0 as the series shifts to Canada's capital. Ottawa gets a boost over as Alfredson is in action for Game 3, but the Pens get some bad news. Gary Roberts is out of action again, and perhaps coming back too soon. He's out indefinitely for the time being. The first period, the goalies are hot again, but Gerber and Fleury are putting on a show and making big saves, so big in fact that neither team gets a goal in the first period. It remains scoreless. Spezza, who has not been playing well, sets up Nick Foligno for a goal. Ottawa leads 1-0, their first lead of the series. However, Pascal Dupuis, who has been a steal for the Penguins, begins a play that allows Hossa to work some magic. He's set up Talbot, who ties the game 4:28 later, but neither team could capitalize, and Gerber and Fleury were still on fire. But the Sens, despite having their top forwards all together once again, couldn't get it together, and in the third period, the Pens took over. 12 seconds into the third, Rob Scuderi begins a rush that leads to Dupuis setting up Sid the Kid for his first goal of the series, and the Penguins lead 2-1. Just 118 later, the checking core gets on the score sheet. Ruutu to Canada to stall a 2-goal lead, and the Sens Nation has been silenced. And then on a power play, Crosby to Malone to Hossa. 4-1 Penguins, and the Senators have no response. Pittsburgh all around, all their players are just contributing up and down from the first to the fourth line. Every defenseman from Gonchar to Letang is working their tail off, and Fleury is amazing in net again, this time with 33 saves. The Penguins are in the driver's seat and are looking for the sweep and their first playoff series win since 2001. Game 4, and the Sens fans at Scotiabank Place are hoping for a miracle and for their top line to wake up. And Gerber, as usual in the first period, and he's been the Sens' best player this whole series, is outstanding. And the Penguins' defensive game, however, is tighter this time, as Fleury has a lot of breathing room, but stopping big chances when he's needed to. And for the second straight game, it's scoreless after 1. But again, that Penguins power play comes back to haunt the Senators. 140 in, the anchor, Gonchar is in control. He gets it to Crosby to Malkin. He scores 1-0 Pittsburgh. The Sens are trying with all their might, but the Pens checkers and defense are just playing incredible hockey. But eventually the playoff-savvy Corey Stillman scored a goal and the game is tied. But again, the role players play a scoring role. Kennedy to Ruutu, 2-1 Penguins after 2. But in the third period, the Sens are trying with all their might, but the Pens aren't giving them an inch. And with the extra attacker on the ice in the empty net, the Senators are trying to save their season, but Sid gets the puck and puts it in the empty net. It's over! 3-1. The Pittsburgh Penguins sweep the Ottawa Senators, their first playoff series win in 7 years, and their first sweep since they won the Stanley Cup Final back in 1992. A remarkable team effort with everyone going above and beyond their role. Therian definitely put together a great system to help the Pens dominate this series. The Pens' top guns were all on point. Sidney Crosby, in his first playoff success, averaged 2 points a game, including his amazing performance in Game 2, and staying the course the rest of the way, leading the way with 8 points in 4 games, literally, again, 2 points a game. Malkin, however, is superb once again. 7 points. In those first 2 games, he was unstoppable, and it showed. Tied for third in scoring with 5 points. First, Ryan Malone, who's been a major factor for the Pens this season and their success, and grossly underrated in his terms of contribution to this club. And Marian Hossa, proving he was well worth the big trade deadline deal. Did an amazing job. Also, Sakura and his 3 goals led the series. Everyone did what they had to do. Hey, the defense was amazing in this series too in a lot of ways. There was a lot of scoring from them, and to be fair, it wasn't really needed. Gonchar's 2 points was the best among the group, and he had a great series. But Ryan Whitney was incredible here. Not only with an outstanding +5, but his overall play was key in the Pens shutting down the Sens' normally outstanding offensive onslaught. Also great games from Scuderi and Gill, while Letang and Orpik also stepped up their games and knew they'd have to do this all without Sador, and did exactly that. Marc-Andre Fleury, who was the best goalie in the NHL in the final month of the regular season, continued to roll here. A 9.55 save percentage, a shutout, a goals against average of 1.26, allowing just 5 goals in 4 games. Simply incredible. The Pens almost look unstoppable early on. And speaking of stopping, look at this. They held the Sens top line of Healy, Spezza, and Alfredson to just 2 points in 4 games. No goals. Plus, they were a combined abysmal -11. Now, Alfredson did miss 2 games, but wasn't really effective when he came back. And the Pens defense did their thing, and obviously Fleury frustrated them as well. But a lot of credit has to go to Stahl, Dupuis, Talbot, Ruutu, and Kennedy for how they contain these forwards in key moments. This is what wins you a playoff series. In the Eastern Conference semifinal, awaiting the Penguins are their division rivals, the New York Rangers. The Rangers had won 5 of 8 meetings against the Pens this season, so that was definitely going to be a factor, and they're just coming off a convincing 5-game series victory against the New Jersey Devils in the opening round. This is the first meeting between these two teams in the playoffs since 1996. The Rangers finished the regular season with a very impressive 97 points and bolstered some amazing talent up front, led by former Penguins great Jaromir Jagr and another former Penn star, Martin Straka. Well, he was also a big part of the team, as well as you got setup man Scott Gomez, Chris Drury, and one of the all-time greats, good old Shanny, Brendan Shanahan, now in his 19th NHL season, bringing his 3 Stanley Cup rings with him. Also, you had talents such as Brandon Dubinsky, Nigel Dawes, and a pest by the name of Sean Avery. Despite this talent, the Rangers didn't have much in the way of goals. Actually, I'm dead serious. Their defensive system is what made this team as good as they are, led by Dan Girardi as well as Jordan Stahl's brother Mark. You had Michael Roosevelt, Fedor Tutin, And their biggest star was the last line of defense, superstar goaltender Henrik Lundqvist, who had been one of the best netminders in the league, winning 37 games this year in a league-high 10 shutouts. Head coach Tom Renney made the Rangers a playoff team after years of failure, and now he wants to reach that next step. Here we go. Game 1. The Igloo is packed yet again as the Rangers' penalty kill could counter the Penguins' power play. It's another factor to factor in this series. But they hope to make more magic happen here. Both teams' defensive cores, however, are playing a tight game early on, and they're still getting some chances as well, but it's the Rangers who wound the Pens fans up as former Penguins Jágr and Stracker team up. Latter scoring the goal. It's 1-0 Rangers, and that's how it stayed after 1. Then 1:45 apart early on in the next period. Jordan watches brother Mark setting up Drury and Avery for goals. They silence the Igloo, leading 3-0. However, Jordan responds to his brother by setting up Jarkko Ruutu and put the Pens on the board. And literally 14 seconds later, the Igloo shakes as Crosby makes a great play, setting up Dupuis. It's a goal. The Pens have life and only trail 3-2 after 2. Now it's Ryan Malone's turn to star. First, he begins a rush and gives it back to Scuderi, who then puts the puck right on the spot for Hossa to score, and the game is tied. And 20 seconds later, Malone begins things again, and this time Malkin continues to play, and Sikora finishes it, and the Penguins have clawed their way back to take the lead. But the Rangers are not defeated yet as Jágr strikes a dagger in reversing roles with Scott Gomez setting him up for a goal. The game is tied again, this time 4-4, but the clock is winding down, but Straka is called for interference. The Pens power play goes to work. With 1:41 to play, Whitney to the kid, to Gino. He shoots and scores. Scratch my back with a hacksaw. The Pens win it. This really gave the Pens their biggest test yet in the playoffs, and they passed with flying colors. They fell behind but didn't panic, and the big guns went to work. The role players stepped up, but now they understood the reality of the situation. That wasn't going to be as easy as it was with Ottawa. Also, the goaltenders were lit up pretty good, too. Game 2 still in Pittsburgh. Both teams are playing a very competitive game, and while things get tense, they don't quite reach a fever pitch. Lundqvist, making up for Game 1, is stumping the Pens at every chance he can get. However, Fleury is doing the exact same thing to the Rangers, and it's scoreless after 1. It's the same through a lot of the second period as well until the Pens went on. Yes, a power play. Whitney's the one to anchor it this time. Malkin continues it, and an open Jordan Staal scores. The Pens get the first tally of the game. But again, Lundqvist is stopping everything, and they can't build on the lead, but so is Fleury. Jágr, no chance. Drury, see you later. Shanny, go back to Detroit, you bum. It's 1-0 Pens after 2. In the third period, it's much of the same. Both goalies exciting the crowd and the gasp of fans every time Fleury faces an onslaught. You can hear it right through the TV, but the puck never gets past him. With 17 seconds to play, Adam Hall scores an empty netter. Another tight competitive game with Fleury also overcoming obstacles from Game 1 and coming up with a huge clutch performance, stopping all 26 shots he faced. The Penguins have a 2-0 series lead and are just on fire in these playoffs, but neither game came easy, and they keep that in mind as the series now shifts to the Big Apple. The Madison Square Garden faithful in New York, a packed house, mean the Pens are entering a familiar yet still hostile environment as they've seen many years. The rivalry between these two division rivals has been very well documented. But again, after a year of failure, these fans of the city that never sleeps want a championship and don't want excuses. So here we go. Game 3. The Pens shut the New York crowd out pretty quick. It's the kid. It's Pascal. It's Hossa. It's a goal. 1-0 Pens just over a minute in. The Rangers stop playing around, and their defense does not allow the Pens any big chances on Lundqvist. And Fleury is facing a barrage of shots, and it takes a little bit, but it's Jágr and Straka, the latter scoring, and the Rangers tie it. And a scuffle ensues with Whitney, Malone, and Letang tying it up a little bit with Dubinsky, Jágr, and Mara. But 1:45 later, Sikora, Malkin, Larak, and the Pens lead 2-1. 1:24 after that, Hossa, Gonchar, and Gino scores! It's the Pens leading 3-1 after 1. In the second period, however, the Pens aren't getting many chances at Lundqvist to build on the lead, but Fleury is burying Jágr, who had 10 shots in this game. But finally, Ryan Callahan wakes up Madison Square Garden, and Jágr, set up by Gomez, finally gets one just 1:04 later, and MSG is rocking as the game is suddenly tied 3-3. But it's another Pens power play. It's Gonchar guiding it. It's the kid continuing, and Gino finishing a goal. 4-3 Pens after 2. Lundqvist hasn't faced too many shots, but when he does, the Pens seem to have his number. And just 2:30 into the third period, Sikora leads the way. Then Letang sets up Malone for a goal. It's 5-3. Fleury bars the door the rest of the way in the game, and the Penguins, with their 7th playoff game win in a row, are on the verge of a second straight series sweep. Malkin just shows why he was finalist for the MVP of the year with another big game, huge 2 goals and assists for 3 points, as the Penguins power play just seemingly can't be stopped. Also big performances from Sid, Hossa, Gonchar, Sikora, and Fleury, amazing in net again. The Pens had Lundqvist's numbers in Game 1 and 3, and in Game 2, he and Fleury put on a show. Here in Game 4, the Pens were holding all the best cards, but the Rangers were still ready to play their best hand. Also, Gary Roberts returns to the lineup. Lundqvist and Fleury telling the story they told in Game 2, both making sensational stops. "Sorry, Sid," said Lundqvist. "Tough luck, Scotty," said Fleury. Another great battle between 2 elite goaltenders. Scoreless after the first period. And for much of the second, again, it was the same story until 12:45 in. Jágr scores and the Rangers draw first blood, and the Pens have no response. It remains 1-0 after 2. Fleury is still making some big stops, but this time it's Lundqvist is the one barring the door. As 44 seconds into the third on a power play, Sans Pens, Jágr, and Straka set up Dubinsky. It's a 2-0 lead. The Pens, but to no avail, try to press. Jágr adds an empty netter to seal the deal. And the Rangers avoid the sweep. Jágr played one of the biggest games of his life, and Lundqvist playing like the guy he had been all year was more than enough for the Rangers not to go so quietly. As the Pens' hot streak ends at 7 straight games, but the series is going back to the Igloo. The Pens played pretty well, they just couldn't score any goals. Both teams are ready and determined for Game 5 in Pittsburgh. The Pens want to wrap it up. The Rangers believe they can pull off a miracle. And this time, the Pens' defense tightens up. They don't want to take any chances of letting the Rangers back in this thing, and Lundqvist faces another onslaught, but yet again, it's, you guessed it, a scoreless first period. And the Pens' strategy, however, pays off in the second, as on that dangerous power play, Sid to Malone to Hossa, 1-0 Penguins. And just under 4 minutes later, Letang and Whitney take command. They find Malkin, and Malkin finds the back of the net. 2-0 Penguins after 2. They are 20 minutes away from their first conference final appearance in 7 years. However, early in the third, 2 goals, 1:22 apart from Korpikoski and Dawes, they tie the game. Time winds down. Neither team has nothing for the first time. The Pens are going to overtime in these playoffs. And 7:10 in, Letang getting out of the Pens zone, gets it up to Sid, who carries it up to the Rangers zone, passing to Dupuis, who hits a backhand pass to Hossa. He shoots and scores. Shave my beard with a weed whacker. The Penguins win it. Oh yes, the Penguins take it in 5. A monster game from Hossa, including the OT winner, with Crosby making plays happen. And overall, despite letting the 2-0 lead slip quick in the third, the Pens remain focused and disciplined. And despite taking it in 5, the Rangers didn't make it easy in any of the games and made them work for it. But either way, it's the first time since 2001 they are going to the Eastern Conference Finals. The Pens have an 8-1 record in these playoffs. Definitely says a lot by how disciplined this team really is. Malkin was showing that shine that made him a finalist for the Hart Trophy. He didn't just, quit that extra hustle he put forth when Crosby was out. He kept it going and continues to make things happen out there. 4 goals and 3 assists for a team leading 7 points in this series. And while Sid didn't score a goal, he led his team in 6 assists, and that was enough for second in points, as a 2-headed monster are making early cases for Consummate Trophy candidacy for playoff MVP. And hey, Marian Hossa is going to throw his name in the hat, despite his 12 regular season games at Pittsburgh being simply good. He's taken his game to the level that we're used to seeing. And his 4 goals tie Malkin for the team lead, and his 5 points put him at 3rd best on the team. Ryan Malone is playing very well, as Dupuis, Sikora, and Stahl are playing tremendous playoff hockey. The Pens' defense has had a lot of difficulty this season, but overall, they're playing an aggressive and effective game in these playoffs and came out looking good in the end. Whitney and Gonchar, the 2 best scoring defenders for the Pens all year, tied this series lead in scoring with 3 assists each. As good as they were, however, the ones who commanded this series, first was Rob Scuderi, who led the series with a +4. His presence was a big difference maker in this series, as was that of Hal Gill, who, like Hossa, has proven to be a big acquisition. He has been outstanding in these playoffs so far. It shows racking up stats does not always matter, as anyone on this Penguins defense could make a case for the Conn Smythe Trophy. That includes rookie Chris Letang, whose presence on the power play and overall general play has been an extra factor. And you can't talk about playoff MVP candidacy without talking about Marc-Andre Fleury. He has just been amazing coming up in the clutch in these playoffs so far, and this series, like the last, he has taken on the pressure head-on and made many a great save. He has a goals against average of 2.15, superb, garners another shutout. Any way you slice it, this Pens team can seem to win in any situation. Can they be stopped at this point? Well, in the Eastern Conference Final, they'll be facing off against their most hated rivals, the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers won 5 of 8 games against the Pens this season, but the Penguins already eliminated 2 teams that had their number in the regular season. This is the first playoff meeting between the two since 2000, and on top of that, the Penguins, in terms of each of these teams' respective 41-year histories they've been in the NHL, have never once beaten the Flyers in a playoff series. So history is also on the Flyers' side. Philly finished with an impressive 95 points to get here, and they polished off the Capitals in a thrilling 7-game series in the opening round, and then upset the Montreal Canadiens in 5 games. The Flyers looking to clinch their first finals berth since 1997, and not having won the Cup since 1975, the fans in Philly were anxious. The Flyers had a group of hard-working, gritty talent led by superstar forward Daniel Briere. Also, you had Mike Richards, and joining him, Mike Newble, Jeff Carter, R.J. Umberger, Joffrey Lupul, and the pesky Scott Hartnell. This is a Philly team that welcomes a playoff style of hockey. They had to work extra harder, as another star forward, Simon Gagne, had missed most of the season and is not here in these playoffs. Their defense had a lot of trouble this season, but Braden Coburn, Randy Jones, and Kimmo Timonen were very productive, and they also have lots of playoff depth and leadership with Darian Hatcher. Goaltender Martin Biron had an impressive save percentage of .918 in the season, and head coach John Stevens deserves a great deal of credit for turning the team that only won 21 games a year prior, developing a system of several productive scoring forwards and turning them into a contender. Here we go, Game 1. You can feel the tension of this long-standing rivalry in the Igloo, and the fans are eager and want to see their Pens finally triumph over the Flyers in an epic fashion. It looks good early as Malkin and Malone get it to Segura, who scores the goal to open things up. But just 2:11 later, Mike Richards scores his first of 2 quick goals, only 4:20 apart, and the Igloo melts in silence as the Flyers suddenly lead 2-1. But 1:21 after that, Hossa to Crosby, it's a goal. The game is tied 2-2. With 7 seconds remaining in the frame, Whitney gets a great feed for Malkin to put it home. After 1 period, it's 3-2 Penguins. What a wild first. Fleury, however, becomes a wall, thriving under the playoff pressure. He's definitely made for this atmosphere, and he's proven it time and time again through these playoffs already. And just 4:50 into the second, Hossa gets the puck, killing a penalty, which he is known to do. And Gonchar takes it in. Malkin scores his second of the game, getting it done on the other end of the power play for a change, and the Pens lead 4-2. Fleury keeps it that way as the Pens don't need to build on their lead and take Game 1 by a score of 4-2. Malkin continues to roll 2 goals and assist, another 3.9. He's just killing it. He isn't settling for regular season success with his work out there. Oh yes, and Marian Hossa, who hasn't had a plethora of playoff experience outside of 1 deep playoff run with the Senators, is thriving in this environment as well, while Gonchar also plays another beauty. Game 2, both teams come out flying and both goalies are facing pressure. Also, the tension between the teams is building more and more and more as penalties are being taken. And midway through the first, the Flyers give the Pens a 2-minute advantage. No, that's a mistake. Gonchar's on the ice. He takes control, and Crosby picks his spot and scores the goal. The Pens strike first. It remains 1-0 after 1. But here's the thing, as good as the Pens' power play is, the Flyers are the second best unit in the entire league. And the Pens play a price because that in the second period, as Carter scores a tie the game on an extra man advantage. But, another Pens power play. Oh, there's Gonchar. Oh, there's Malone. And there's Hossa. His 6th goal in the playoffs, and the Pens retake the lead. They take another power play towards the end of the second, but Mike Richards stuns them with a great individual effort. A shorthanded, and the game's tied 2-2. Fleury and Biron are seeing a lot of action, but Fleury's clutch goaltending becomes key again. And the Pens respond because of it, and then near the midway point of the third, the working class crew, Larac to Roberts to Talbot. He scores, and the Pens lead 3-2. The clock winds down, and Fleury is keeping the Flyers at bay. With the net empty, Gonchar and Sid help Stahl get to the empty net, and the Pens take another 4-2 win at home. Sergei Gonchar was anchoring this mighty ship of this night with another huge game. Crosby again plays very well. Also, credit has to go to Stahl for his checking game on Danny Briere in these first 2 games. Fleury again made some great stops as the Pens' dominance of this playoffs continue as the series about to shift to the city of brotherly love. Game 3, nearly 20,000 rabid fans wanting to see the heads of the Pens roll. Packed the Wachovia Center in Philly, but the Pens aren't rattled by that hostile environment. As just over 5 minutes into the game on the power play, Gonchar to Crosby to Whitney. His first goal of the playoffs. 2:38 later, Crosby joins the new third head to the monster, beautifully setting up Melody and Hossa for a goal. It's 2-0 Pens early on. A few minutes later, Umberger does get the Flyers on the board, but the Pens are playing a very tight checking game, and the Flyers aren't getting much of a rush going. And the rare times they do, they're not capitalizing. It remains 2-1 Penguins after 1. In the second, the Flyers are contained even more by Pittsburgh defenders, and what few chances they get, Fleury is turning them away. However, the Flyers, they tighten up their defense as well, and the Penguins can't get anything going further either. It remains 2-1 after 2. In the third, the Flyers are doing anything they can not to fall behind 3 games in the series, but midway through the third, Gino takes it. Peter continues it. Malone finishes it. The Pens lead 3-1, and with 54 seconds left to play, Gill gets the puck to Hossa. It's an empty net goal. The Pens now have 12 goals in 3 games. They take this one to 4-1, a commanding 3-0 series lead on the verge of a sweep yet again, as they take it a 3-0 series lead in every series in these playoffs. Crosby and Hossa are just dominating this series, and Malkin's been relatively quiet statistically since Game 1. He's still playing well. Gonchar, Gill, and Scuderi were all fantastic on defense, while Stahl, Talbot, Dupuis, and Sakura were key in this win as well. Can the Pens add the ultimate insult, sweeping their biggest rivals on their home ice, beating them for the first time ever in a playoff series, and go to the Stanley Cup to top all that off? Game 4, the fans in Philly, they don't want to see the humiliation, and for that matter, the Flyers themselves want to stay in this. They do what they can to get under the Pens' skin, trying to play their type of game, but they also put pressure on Fleury, and it pays off as Lupo opens the scoring. 3:21 later on the power play, Briere scores his first goal of the series at a key moment, and the Pens take more careless penalties, however, and the Flyers' awesome power play strikes again. Carter scores its 3-0 Flyers after 1. In the second, the Penguins are pressing, but Biron has their numbers, and the big guns have been disarmed. Fleury also doesn't allow the Flyers to run away any further, but it's still 3-0 for Philadelphia after 2. The Pens finally saw Biron on the third as the lineup Talbot, Kennedy, and Stahl, well, with the latter of the 3 scoring early in the third. It took a while, but the exact same combo in that exact same order scored again with 5:49 left and were within a goal. But they pressed and pressed and pressed, but Lupo keeps the Flyers alive, avoiding the sweep. The Pens' big guns are nowhere to be found, and the Flyers managed to rattle what has been a very focused and disciplined club all playoff long. Hopefully they can chalk it up to a learning experience, because now we're headed back to the Igloo. Game 5, here we go. The Penguins mean business and will not let what happened in Game 4 get to them. The Flyers take a bad penalty early, and yep, power play, yep, Hossa, yep, Crosby, yep, Malone, he scores, and the Pens are off and running. Malone follows that up by setting up Malkin near the midway mark of the first period and makes it 2-0. The Pens defense is wrecking the Flyers, and they have no answers. It remains 2-0 after 1. In the second period, the Pens are just a wrecking crew. Talbot and Sid set up the red-hot Hossa for a goal, 3-0. It's 3:18 later. It's a power play. It's a Hossa. It's a Gonchar. It's a Malone. He shoots and scores his second goal of the game. Double goal, sweet like a jelly roll. 4-0 Penguins. Then Hall. Then Talbot. Then they set up Stahl. It's 5-0, and that's how it is after 2. All the Penguins got to do here is stay the course. But Orpik gets it to Hossa, who sets up Dupuis. 6-0, and the clock winds down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. The Pittsburgh Penguins are going to the Stanley Cup. Yes, for the first time since 1992, which was also the last time they won it, the Pens have a shot at the Holy Grail. And the man who led the team to that very Stanley Cup, Mario Lemieux, smiles down from the owner box at his protege, Sidney Crosby, as they celebrate. Crosby, of course, played another great game. Hossa, who has been playing on another planet, 3 assists and a goal, a 4-point night. Ryan Malone, 2 goals and a helper, 3 points playing a game of his life. The defense is incredible in this game. Fleury gets a 21 save shutout, but the road has now come down to this. Marian Hossa is a house of fire right now, as it shows. He is now with a team that complements how good he really is. It allows him to excel. 4 goals, 9 points, leading the entire team in just 5 games, close to 2 points a game. Crosby is still brilliant, 7 points, and showing his true leadership by example out there. His game has matured a great deal, and showing no signs of injury issues that he had during the regular season getting to him. Ryan Malone, meanwhile, is making his case for playoff MVP status, as he's a threat at all ends of the ice and in any given play, hustling for that puck, and also racks up 6 points. And the anchor of the power play, Sergei Gonchar, 6 assists. He is playing hard, hoping to achieve his first Stanley Cup ring. Also, credit needs to go to Stahl once again for the series he had, winning faceoffs, making checks. Talbot is also playing some of the best hockey of his career. And while they didn't have the same dominance like they had against Ottawa, they, along with Dupuis and Kennedy, are a reason why the Pens are a step closer. Also, Malkin, not as dominant here, but still had an excellent series at 5 points. Gonchar was rolling with the way he took hold of that power play, and his offensive prowess from the blue line continues to show just what a big threat he really is, as of course he leads all defensemen in scoring with 6 assists. But look at rookie Chris Letang. His +6 has really gelled with this team, and watching his progression unfold in this his rookie season, where he started rough and now look thriving in the pressure cooker that is the Stanley Cup playoffs. Whitney and Orpik are also outstanding in this series, making some big plays, blocking shots, handling the top flyers forwards, and they were many to handle, but this core was up to the task. Also, Scuderi and Gill were also still making their presence very much felt. And what more can you say about Marc-Andre Fleury that hasn't been said already? He's still carrying the momentum that he had when he returned from his injury back in March. He gets his 3rd shot of the playoffs, and his goals against average in this series, 1.61. An incredible save percentage of .939. Oh, he's ready for more. So now it has come down to this. After years of questionable trades, lackluster drafting, and just all-around terrible hockey, it looked in the early part of the new millennium the Pens' days of being a contender were a distant memory, not about to return for the foreseeable future. However, their basement dwelling led to great draft picks. A new GM made some great free agent signings and some great trade deadline deals, and here they are. A return to glory could be just one series win away. They've dominated these playoffs. The big stars are delivering. The checkers and role players are playing, going above and beyond what they can really do. The power play is marvelous. The defense has been the best it's been all year. And they have an amazing goaltender in net. And Therrien has worked so much magic with his club behind the bench. And now we're ready for the Stanley Cup Finals. And indeed, their final obstacle is the NHL's best team, the Western Conference champion, Detroit Red Wings, making their 4th finals appearance in 10 seasons, having just last won it in 2002. The Wings are the best team in the NHL indeed, a huge record of 54 wins, 21 losses, and 7 overtime losses for 115 points. Gone were the days of Scotty Bowman, the Russian Five, Stevie Y, and Shanny. But the impact and influence of the Wings championship mentality still lives on through head coach Mike Babcock. And yes, I know, despite his off-putting personality, he still knew how to make a championship caliber team, and the Wings had been building for this since they knew their aging veterans wouldn't be around forever. GM Ken Holland still knew what to provide, at least at this time. The Wings had their own two-headed monster, with a slight edge and experience over our heroes in Pittsburgh. A new Russian star in the tradition that came of many that came out through Detroit, in Pavel Datsyuk, and Swedish sensation Henrik Zetterberg. The former of the two was the league's Selke Award winner for the top defensive forward in the league, and also the league's plus-minus leader. Both were in the top 10 amongst league scorers. But like Bowman instilled in the likes of Fedorov and Yzerman, Babcock implemented that defense-first system, and these two grasped it in a big way. And they would need it to counter Crosby, Malkin, and now Hossa. In addition, you had a group of hard-working, productive forwards at all ends of the ice, such as Thomas Holmstrom, Dan Cleary, Yuri Hudler, and Johan Franzen. However, there was some key remnants, if you will, from those late 90s and early 2000s Red Wings teams that helped make them champions. One of them was that infamous grinder line: Chris Draper, Darren McCarty, and Kirk Maltby. And that defense, that defense. Their fearless leader, team captain, one of the best to ever play the blue line, Nicholas Lidstrom. That year's Norris Trophy winner as the league's top defenseman at the age of 37 for the third year in a row, and the sixth time in his career. That's third all time behind Hall of Famers Doug Harvey and the one and only Bobby Orr. And perfectly complimenting Lidstrom was veteran Brian Rafalski, as well as Nicholas Cronwell, and added late in the season and playing extremely well in these playoffs, Brad Stewart, best known for his days with the San Jose Sharks. And in goal, you had quite a duo. You have the Dominator, Dominic Hasek at 42, still playing well in net. And another member of the Wings' glory days from the 90s, Chris Osgood, who's been the starter in most of these playoffs. The Penguins knew it wasn't going to be a breeze, but the Wings had a bit of a harder journey getting here to the Cup. It took them 6 games to eliminate a determined Nashville Predators squad. However, they swept out their old rivals, the Colorado Avalanche, where Franzen was just a machine. And they were on the verge of sweeping the Dallas Stars, but the Stars actually gave them a bit of a scare, winning 2 in a row, forcing a Game 6, but in the end, the Wings won out. So here we go. 2 very different teams. The Wings were the oldest team in the league. The Pens were the 4th youngest team in the league and the youngest to be in these playoffs. Without any further ado, here we go. Game 1, Joe Louis Arena in Detroit. Over 20,000 Hockeytown fans strong, hoping for the next chapter of the Red Wings dynasty to commence. Fleury is facing an onslaught, but he is standing his ground like he has in all these playoffs. The Pens' big stars are getting some chances, but unable to sustain momentum. The Wings' defensive mindset seems to be working, and Osgood is turning back what little comes his way. Either way, neither team is able to get one in the net, and it's scoreless after 1. In the second period, it's much of the same, and the Pens are getting a little frustrated. As much as Crosby has grown, he still has his hot-headed moments in this era, and took a very bad slashing penalty, but the Wings couldn't capitalize. However, 13 minutes into the second, Michael Samuelsson of the Wings makes a great individual effort and opens the scoring at long last. The Wings, however, stay strict, and it stays 1-0 after 2. In the third period, early on, Samuelsson does it again, and he makes it 2-0. The time is winding down, but the Pens have a power play chance, and it has been on fire in these playoffs. But when Brad Stewart takes possession of the puck, he ends up feeding Dan Cleary a shorthanded goal, 3-0 Wings, and adds salt to the wound with just 13 seconds left to play. Zetterberg scores his 12th of the playoffs. The Wings dominate this one 4-0. Their style was the one that the young Pens had trouble keeping up with, and they knew that they were competing with a team that had more depth. And it was going to be up to the Pens veterans such as Sikora and Hossa to step it up, and the youngsters to use their youth to try to exhaust these Wings. Malkin only had 1 shot on goal to boot. Crosby and Hossa didn't fare much better, and with this being their worst defeat in the playoffs, it's a wake-up call for them, but can they respond in Game 2? And yes, indeed, Game 2 at the Joe, and Gary Roberts is activated again after missing 5 more games, as his presence is sorely needed in a situation like this. But again, it's the same story. The Wings are killing the Pens in the neutral zone, their grizzled grinders are making life hell for the youngsters, and Brad Stewart again makes something happen, with a goal just nearly 7 minutes into the game, and then 4:23 later, Holmstrom makes it 2-0. The Wings are sticking to their system, and it's working, and it remains 2-0 after 1. The second period, Fleury is still facing an onslaught, but turning away any chance the Wings had to patent their lead. But the Pens are not responding to him. Though Crosby is breaking through, Malkin has been heavily contained by this Wings team in the first 2 games, and he does not get a single shot in this whole game. It's still 2-0 after 2 periods. The Pens just can't buy a goal. The third period, the Wings are playing the Penguins like puppets. Bad penalties, goading them into confrontations, and it's working to their advantage. And more importantly, the Pens are scoring no goals. And the Wings add a goal by Filppula, and that is it. Yep, all she wrote. The Wings just schooled the Pens in these 2 games. This one a 3-0 win. Back-to-back shutout wins, and the Penguins have been a huge disappointment in these finals. Malkin is heavily criticized for his lack of production. Crosby is also taking up part of the blame for not taking command of his team, and Hossa is called out for just being lost out there, it seems. Either way, some are even thinking sweep, as they feel this Red Wings team is going to outclass these young Penguins. The Wings can break the focus of the best of them. The Pens knew they weren't going to get to Osgood often, so they had to make something happen the few times they did, and find a way to counter the Wings system. But for Game 3 at the Igloo, fans haven't lost hope, and are downright excited for the first Cup final game in Pittsburgh in 16 years, taking place in the house Lemieux built. Also, Pittsburgh has yet to lose a home game in these playoffs, one has to wonder, something the TV announcers pointed out. And the Pens do get a boost. Defenseman Daryl Sador has finally been cleared after missing the whole playoffs so far, and he now gets to play in his 5th Stanley Cup Finals of his career with his 4th different club. Also, Fleury was facing over 30 shots a game and needed some relief, but it didn't come. The Wings are all over him, but he's again playing very well as he always has, and Malkin was still being shut down. Stewart was trying to carry the puck out of his zone and coughed up the puck to Hossa, who came in on the wing with Crosby, slipped him a nice pass. It's in the net. The Igloo loses it. 137 minutes, 25 seconds without a goal in these finals, and Captain Kid, Sidney Crosby, scores. And this is what the Pens need to do. The Wings aren't going to make mistakes often, but when they do, they need to capitalize every time. It's 1-0 after one period. Early in the second period, the Pens are on the power play, which has been stagnant so far, obviously, in this series. They rushed in on the Wings' normally fantastic penalty kill, and after a scramble for the puck in front of the net, Crosby scores his second goal of the game. He was called upon to step it up in this dire situation. He does just that. 2-0 Pens, but the Wings are not licked yet. And later in the period, despite Fleury playing a great game, the Wings on the power play, which is top-notch above the Pens for 3rd best in the league, takes command, and Franzen, who's been superb in these playoffs for the Red Wings, scores his 13th in the postseason to put them on the board. But this Penguins team is showing more fight here than they have in the first 2 games combined. The third period is underway. Both teams are working tirelessly for possession of that puck, and the role players for the Pens step up. Yes, at last in these finals, as Roberts to Talbot to Hall. He shoots and scores. Smack a thumbtack with my forehead. It's 3-1 Penguins. Samuelson, however, scores for the Wings to make it 3-2 with over 6 minutes left. But Fleury holds them in, and the time runs down on the Wings. And at last the Pens are in this thing. They went in without fear, and rather than try to compete with the Wings at their own game, they used their winning formula and made the veteran club pay for what few mistakes they made. Crosby was called out. He answered. They said Hossa was lost. He's seen to find himself pretty good here. The Penguins are now also 9-0 at home in these playoffs and are ready for the next one. Oh, the Igloo is psyched for Game 4 as the Penguins have life. And early on, Dallas Drake takes a penalty, and the Penguins waste no time as less than 3 minutes into the game. Sid to Gonchar to Hossa. He scores, and the Pens draw first blood. However, just 4 minutes later, Lidstrom strikes for the Wings. We're tied at 1. The Wings are sticking to their formula, but the Pens are sticking to theirs as well with that competitive fire that helped them win the last game. They're putting more and more pressure on the Wings in their zone, but they can't capitalize on the chances. Malkin is also playing a lot better out there, showing more hustle, still looking for his first point of the series. It remains 1-1 after 1. It's a very competitive pace by both teams in the second period, but neither is able to break the tie. But you can see they both want this game oh so badly. The Wings can take control, whereas the Pens can make this series anybody's game and carry the momentum back to Motown. Early in the third period, Hudler scores for the Wings to silence the Igloo, and the Wings lead 2-1. The Pens are pressing, and now they are doing a good job of not allowing Crosby many chances at any shots on goal. The clock counts down. The Pens are doing all they can. It's not enough. They didn't play bad. The Wings were simply a step better. But the fact is, the Penguins' dream season is one loss away from coming to an end. With the series shifting back to Detroit, it does not look good. As the Pen streak at home is over, and in these playoffs in themselves, the Wings have only lost 1 game and are on their home ice. The Penguins need something desperately from Malkin here if they want a chance of a comeback. Also, Sakura has been very quiet in this series and needs to really step it up. Game 5, the Joe is rocking more than ever. The Wings and their fans are ready for an 11th Cup banner to hang for the Raptors of their home. The first period, both teams are fighting hard for different reasons, with the same goal in mind, however. Of course, no team has, since the 1942 Maple Leafs, had come back from a 3-1 series deficit to win the Cup. Crazy enough, the Leafs were down 3-0 in that series, and it was against the Red Wings. But the Pens are ready to write a new history, and they press in the Wings zone. Crosby centers the puck for Hossa. It's in the net. Huge goal for the Pens. Later in the period, unlikely Adam Hall once again shocks the Wings with an individual effort. It's 2-0 Penguins. And it stays that way after 1. Fleury, however, is again pressed, and the Wings, like they have, do eventually solve him early in the second period. An unlikely contributor from the Wings score sheet, Darren Helm, scores to cut the Pens' lead in half. However, the Penguins are determined to hold on to the lead. Fleury keeps the Wings at bay, and the lead cannot be extended. It's 2-1 Penguins after 2. In the third period, however, the game is tied on the power play by Datsyuk, and just 2:40 later, Rafalski scores. It's 3-2 Red Wings. With 10:37 to play, the Pens season is counting down. Nothing is happening. Pittsburgh is desperately trying to fight to save their season. This is it. Fleury skates to the bench. The extra skater is out there. 1 minute to play. The Wings can taste it as the Pens are just trying to press everything they have. The Wings get it out of the neutral zone. Under 50 seconds to play, Malkin is hustling to keep it in, and they can't clear it out as Crosby keeps it in, as does Hossa from behind the net. Talbot whacks it. No, he did. Second tap. Yes, he does it. It's a goal. It's a goal. It's a goal. The game is tied. 35 seconds left. The Pens have saved their season. Oh, and we are headed to overtime. Yes, but indeed, it's not over yet. The Wings can still win this. Each team has only played one overtime game in these playoffs, and they both won those respective games. But here we go. First overtime, the Wings are getting chance after chance. Fleury making stop after stop. Under pressure, making those key saves. The Pens are not getting as many chances, but Osgood is coming up in the clutch for the Wings as well. Time ticks down and down and down. No goals. We're off to double overtime. And it's tense, but the Joe is energetic, and both teams are battling for the puck like their lives depend on it. And again, neither team can put it home. We're now off to triple overtime. Well, as we approach the midway point of the period, Hedler takes a very idiotic high stick penalty, and the Pens are on the power play. You got the man in command, Gonchar, out there controlling things, and the puck ended up behind the net where Malkin takes it. Feeds a perfect pass to Sakura! Snaps it! He scores! Scores! Triple overtime! The Pittsburgh Penguins are still alive! Oh yes, the man that needed to step up did just that at the exact right moment. A great lead by Gonchar, a fantastic pass from Malkin, an amazing shot from Sakura, and just like that, we're off to a 6th game at Pittsburgh. Talbot and Dupuis were also outstanding in this game, and Crosby and Hossa, like always, have been amazing. Fleury stopped 55 shots in this near double game. What a dramatic victory. The Pens are ready to do the improbable and make some history. Here we go. Game 6. The Igloo believes in their Penguins as well, and Crosby and Hossa are hot. Malkin and Sakura have broken their slumps. Can the defense crank it up? Will Fleury continue to shine? Out of the prior 7 Cup finals, 4 have gone to a Game 7. It is time. Sador, however, takes an interference penalty early on. And on the power play, Rafalski scores. The Wings strike first. But the Pens are hustling. They aren't getting many chances. But the Red Wings are pressing for that next goal, but it remains 1-0 after 1. But then in the second period, Vipula scores for the Wings. And the Pens aren't putting anything together. This looks bad. 2-0. And the Pens need one desperately. They get a power play chance. It's the 3-headed monster, baby. Hossa, check. Crosby, check. Malkin! He scores his first goal of the series. It was sorely needed, and the Pens are in this thing as the Igloo is shaking once again, while the House of Lemieux built sees the man that built it look happy from the owner's box. The Pens trail 2-1, however, after 2, but as the last game proved, they thrive on adversity. They are battling for control of the puck, but the Wings are winning the battle so far, and it's not looking good. So much so that Datsyuk sets up Zetterberg. 3-1 Wings with 12:24 to play. Time is ticking down. The Pens season looks like it's finally about to end. However, with 1:47 to play, oh look, it's Hedler again, taking another penalty. The Pens can go on a power play, and hey, they can pull Fleury too and have 6 skaters on 4. And that's exactly what happens. Alright, key face-off here. The kid takes it. He wins the draw. Malkin and Gonchar are keeping control of the puck. A shot gets blocked by Cleary, but it doesn't get cleared out. Malkin. Gonchar. He shoots. Hossa redirects. It's a goal. Stop the presses. Stop the presses. 1:27 to play. The Pens only trail by a goal. Oh, Hedler, you screwed it up for your team again. And the Pens capitalize. And another miracle ready to happen. Oh, here we go. We are down to the final minute. The Pens are trying desperately for the equalizer, but the Wings just aren't letting it happen. Now, in less than 30 seconds to play, is it going to happen? Oh, no. The Wings clear it out. 10 seconds left. Gonchar carries it back in. Oh, no. He can't get near the goal, but 2 seconds left. Crosby backhands it. No. Hosts in front of the net. The buzzer sounds. Penguins lose, and the Red Wings, for the 4th time in 10 seasons, are Stanley Cup champions. The Pens indeed fought to the very bitter end, simply losing to a team that was better than them. Almost in a way, it seems a modern take of the Islanders-Oilers rivalry of the 80s. The Pens were still too young and too inexperienced, and had a lot of growing to do. Yet, again, this loss made them all the more wiser in the end. Penguins fans in attendance, however, chanted, "Crosby, Crosby, Crosby," during the traditional post-series handshake, showing that they still had faith in their hero to get them to that next level. Their faith would indeed be rewarded, and this rivalry was far from over. But that's another video for another day. The whole team played badly in the first 2 games, but stepped it up in the next 4 and played very well and were with the Red Wings every step of the way, even in the losses. They were again just simply beaten by a better team. Hossa and Crosby continued their spectacular playoff performances, and after being heavily criticized in the first 2 games, they came alive. Sadly, it was too late, but still, overall, had an excellent final and made it very competitive. Hossa leads away with 7 points, Crosby just behind him with 6. But sadly, their production was limited by the Pens stars such as Malkin and Gonchar, who both played very well in games 5 and 6, but were nowhere to be found most of the series, as the Red Wings had them under their control. Sikora, despite his epic Game 5 moment, had a very poor outing in this series, that literally being his only contribution. Despite the efforts of Stahl, Talbot, and Malone in these playoffs, they just couldn't handle the Red Wings' onslaught very well either. Dupuis managed a little better than they did. Gonchar led all defensemen in scoring again with 3 assists, but the Wings completely owned the Penguins' blue line in this series, with Sador really being the only effective defender, as his return actually did boost the blue line a bit when he did play well, but even he was simply good and not great. Orpik, Scuderi, and Gill were particularly dominated by the Wings in this series, while Letang had some pretty rough outings as well on top of that. Crosby, Hossa, and Sador are the only players to finish on the plus side of this series in plus-minus stats, each with a +1. Fleury did all he could, and while some dolts criticize him for some bad goals he did indeed let in, he was one of the reasons why the Pens were even in there in the first place. His goals against average of 2.51 and .923 save percentage in this series shows he was still stellar, all things considered. I repeat, he simply ran into a better team. Now let's take a look at the Pens' overall numbers in these playoffs. Many were questioning how effective Crosby would be due to his injury problems this season, but he didn't lose a step, and perhaps sitting out a few more games after he first tried to come back is what did him some good. 27 points in 20 playoff games, what an absolute warrior out there. Despite a rough first couple games in the finals, he showed he was only scratching the surface of what was ahead. Marion hosted the big trade deadline superstar acquisition paid off dividends, and he was playing some of the best all-around hockey of his career, finished just a point behind Crosby at 26. Malkin continued to tear it up in the first 2 rounds and got off to a decent start in the conference finals, but seemed to lose steam right up to the 5th game of the Cup final. But overall, his 22 points were a big reason, and he, as a whole for that matter, were a big reason why the Penguins had any success this year. Sikora played very well until the finals, and had at least one epic moment in said finals, and Stahl and Talbot were warriors out there despite getting gobbled up in the finals, while Malone was the unexpected star of these playoffs, but he too was taken apart by the Wings. Dupuis was killing it up front defensively for the Wings and making things happen in terms of puck control and stay consistent most of the way. Crosby's 27 points, as a matter of fact, tied the playoff lead with Conn Smythe Trophy winner for playoff MVP Henrik Zetterberg of the Wings, and he led all the playoffs by far with 21 assists. Hossa's 26 points were 3rd best in the playoffs. Malkin makes it 3 players in the top 5 with his 22 points being 5th, while Malone's 16 points was going to be tied for 8th, making 4 players in the top 10 for the Penguins. Not at all bad. Gonchar, to no surprise, led all Penguins and defensemen scoring in these playoffs, and up until the finals he was playing very well, but he did play well in games 5 and 6. Either way, 14 points, 13 of which were assists, pretty damn good. Again, the Pens' defense, while far from best in the league, showed a whole new level of playing here in these playoffs than they did all season, and they were very productive in those first 3 rounds, as Orpik and Scuderi provided a great deal of presence, and Hal Gill, another late-season acquisition, used his size to his advantage, and Chris Letang caps off a rookie season with an impressive playoff run. Ryan Whitney, however, was amazing in these playoffs and tied Hossa with a team best +8, both of whom finished tied for 8th best in the playoffs with that total, while Crosby's +7 was tied for 10th. Also, Gonchar was tied for 2nd best defenseman scoring overall in these playoffs, tied with Rafalski's 14 points, just behind leader Nick Cromwell, who had 15. Last and most certainly not least, Marc-Andre Fleury, who had a great record of 14-6. His 14 wins, however, were tied with Osgood for best of playoffs. His outstanding 1.97 goals against average, only second to Osgood's. And his .933 save percentage was actually better than Osgood's .930. Either way, Fleury showed he could play playoff hockey, even if it wasn't his year. Yet. Obviously, being only 15 years ago, and the Pens being a young team, they don't have a lot of Hall of Famers. Yet. On this squad, but 2 members, indeed, in 2007-08 Penguins team are in the Hall of Fame already. Mark Recchi, who only played 19 games for the Pens this year before being waived, joined Atlanta, would later play a short while in Tampa before finishing his career playing 3 seasons in Boston, winning his 3rd and final Stanley Cup. Well, he was more known as a Penguin star in his first 3 NHL seasons back in the late 80s and early 90s, winning a cup with them, playing huge in those playoffs in 1991. Either way, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2017. And the Pens couldn't ink Hossa to a deal. The deadline trade that saw him play 12 regular season plus 20 playoff games would all he would play for the Penguins, and that is a whole other video for another day. But regardless, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer in 2020. However, when it comes to future Hall of Famers, the list is just a little bit longer. Crosby and Malkin are still active as of 2023, but are no doubt surefire first ballot Hall of Famers. Fleury, who had a very acrimonious departure for the NHL this past season, may not have won that many individual accomplishments, but is one of 3 goalies in NHL history to win over 500 games. He'll be eligible in 2026 if he stays retired. Debate has actually raged on about Chris Letang, however. He has had a marvelous career and is no doubt a legend in the eyes of Penguins fans and is indeed deserving of that accolade. He has been instrumental in their success, has racked up some awesome numbers. However, he has never won the Norris Trophy, nor has he's only been a finalist once. He's gotten votes at least 9 seasons, which is very impressive, and is a 2-time second-team All-Star. Nothing to sneeze at whatsoever, but he's never achieved a first. Well, one thing is for sure, as much as I and many others love Letang, and again, he's had to overcome a lot of health issues in his career too, and still playing. He's not a first ballot Hall of Famer, I can say that. But I can see him getting inducted, but I can also see it not happening either. Then, of course, there's those who people make arguments for, mainly 2 defensemen from the same era, Gonchar and Sador. Like Letang, Sergei Gonchar has racked up some amazing numbers, and as a matter of fact, his 811 career points, most of which coming in the dead puck era, really stand out, and he was perhaps among the best scoring defensemen of his time, and that should count for something. He's a decent career plus 33. He has never won the Norris, which he can be attributed to Nick Lidstrom dominating the era, but at the same time, he's also never been a finalist. As for Sador, I don't see a valid argument there. But some fans in Dallas seem to think so. Well, here's the thing. For one, the best defenseman of your cup-winning team was Sergei Zubov. He's already in. Yes, Sador was excellent for his time. He was a really good defenseman and a tremendous playoff performer on top of that. But even that doesn't make for the criteria. Also, Gary Roberts, who, make no mistake about it, had the heart of a lion for the all 21 NHL seasons he would play. The argument comes in the form of fans in Calgary, pointing out that he would have been even greater had it not been for his neck issues. He had still accomplished a great deal. And yes, Roberts came back when many just would have packed it in and nobody would have blamed him. And he was still productive. Even some Leaf fans believe he should be a Hall of Famer. And he does have over 400 goals, over 900 points. He's played the NHL All-Star Game 3 times. He's a guy you want on your team no matter what. And as much as I love Gary Roberts, I don't think that's enough. However, I can see the Flames honoring him in some way in the future. But Gonchar, to me, is the only one that even has a remote chance of getting in. So, that does it for our 2-part look at the 2007-08 Pittsburgh Penguins, a team who continued to grow and still accomplished a great deal and almost came close to accomplishing it all. But the road to prominence would continue. Is there a team in a given season you want to see us cover? Leave a suggestion in the comments below. In the meantime, hit like, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, I'll see ya!